Takes you.
My name is Calvin DeHarness, and I'm interviewing Maddie Peterson, who is 22 years old, and Abby Flinn, who is 21 years old. Today is June 12th, 2024, and I'm going to be talking to them about their experiences graduating high school and starting college with COVID-19. So, first of the more general questions, when did you first realize that COVID was going to be a problem that would affect you?
So we were, I think it was the beginning of March. It was kind of like circulating through the news, and there was one case in town, like someone's parent went to Boston and brought it back to the Tri-Town.
Or so the rumor said.
So the rumor was.
Everyone was just talking about it,
Yes.
but no one really knew.
So it was kind of out of sight, out of mind until like the beginning of March, and then we got an email being like, we're gonna close for the weekend, do a cleaning, and like then you guys can come back on Monday. And we never went back.
You know. Yeah, I don't know if Masco still does it, but we had like the senior frolics. Have you ever heard of that?
I don't think so.
I think they might have stopped doing it, but like basically all the seniors sign up to do it, and it's a big just show they put on for the whole school. So we had been a part of that, and we'd been practicing. And at the end of the practice, they were like, "Okay, unfortunately, we're gonna cancel."
Yeah, so they canceled our show because we had been doing, it was called Girls
Why?
Chorus Line. It was kind of like a dance routine, like kind of like a funny, like, I don't know, you'd see it like in a movie. And we had been practicing like, 3 hours a day the whole week. Like we were putting in work for this routine. And I think it was a meeting on Thursday. It was the last day of school. We had our last frolics, like, practice. And then they put us all in the auditorium. We're like, hey, so we're canceling frolics. I think that was around March 12th, March 13th.
Yeah.
And that was the last we saw Masco.
And we were like, why would you cancel? Like, we're gonna be back, you know? And
just postpone
I think
it.
they knew something we didn't. Because
Yeah.
we were like, oh.
I think we were kind of
never-
naive, too.
Yeah.
We
So
didn't
that was a
believe
good
it.
graduation, was sitting in the auditorium and just being like,
Yeah.
oh, no more
When
frolics.
was the last time we were inside the school?
Yeah. Until, like, we went back for graduation in August, which was,
Yeah.
weird.
I didn't know that you went back in August.
Yeah, so we had an outdoor graduation on the field house, or not in the field house, out in the football field. I think we were the first class to do that. They normally did it in the auditorium. And we got to stand up, wave, and then sit back down.
Stood up,
Yeah.
down, that was it. No diploma.
And you could have two guests.
We sat next to each other.
Yeah, our names are not even close at all.
It was a free-for-all. It was so funny. But I loved it. We got to wear a cap and gown.
True.
How do you feel that COVID has affected your life overall? So, like, any major changes? I guess that's still, like, really general. So I guess, let's start with family life. How do you feel COVID's affected that?
So I think my family got really close during COVID because it was like kind of the only people that you could see and interact with during the time. So like I don't know, I feel like everyone was like moving so quickly through life. Like we were going to school and sports and stuff, and like this kind of like allowed us to slow down and like really spend time together as a family. So like we'd go on walks in the woods, kind of like play games all day. So it kind of, I feel like, not like reoriented our family, but like made us closer.
Same. But for me, I feel like now I'm way more aware of getting my relatives sick, if that makes sense. Because before, like, if you had a cold, be like, okay, whatever. But if you had, like, some sort of sniffy nose, it's like you're not allowed to talk to grandma. Or you're not allowed to talk to Nana. And now every time I have, like, a cough, I'm like, I can't hang out with them. Just because it was so drilled into us that, like,
The awareness.
stop the spread, you
Yeah.
know? So that's what I think, at least. I'm not sure.
What about friendships?
So during the time, like, we obviously couldn't see each other. We kind of had to come up with, like, unique ways to, like, hang out, if you will. So I would FaceTime my friends a lot. Like, thank God we had phones. And then we started meeting in parking lots and on the backseat of our car. So we'd, like, open up our trunks and all kind of just sit, like,
And
parked, like,
stare.
10 feet apart and just kind of, like, talk across parking lots and just say hey. And then the dogs got involved. People would bring their dogs.
We were all so
Lots.
delirious too, because we hadn't
Yeah.
been out of the house, so we would just be like cry laughing at everything, and it was just like, it was so fun. I
Yeah.
feel like I look back on that, I'm like, it wasn't so bad, because we were
No.
lucky to have all our families, all our friends, you know.
And we were,
Times
like,
are so
close
small.
enough that we, like, lived to each other. And
Yeah.
everyone had a car, thankfully. That was a huge help.
Was not bad.
Oh, and for birthdays, so we would have birthday parties. So we would do rolling rallies for people's birthdays. So like the 6, 7 of us would drive by and just honk relentlessly and cheer out our windows.
And they would just stand at the front door like, love you
like,
guys.
hey, and like hand like birthday treats like out our window and be like, don't breathe on me, like with gloves, and just like, here you go, happy birthday, and then we drive away.
It was so much fun.
I know, because we had 4 birthdays during that time?
Yeah, summer B-days
Yeah.
were a big thing, or spring B-days.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you two specifically would have like a good perspective for this question, because if this is aimed at the people more my age, this would be like middle school and then into high school, and it's still kind of the same thing. So college might mess with this a little bit, but major changes before and after COVID. There's 4 things here in like school for like cafeteria food.
So so going into college, we had obviously like dining halls, which is kind of like your cafeteria. And when I first started at UMass, we got paper bags when we walked in the door, and we had to just like pick what we wanted in like plastic containers, and then we had to take it back to our dorm and eat it in our room with our roommate. So it kind of took away like family style, if you will, like dining. So like you couldn't really meet people unless it was like in passing, and you're like, oh hey, you can come back to my dorm, but like you can sit on my floor. So it kind of was like awkward in a way. It was like kind of like took away an easy part of like making friends.
Yeah, I mean, I went to school in Virginia, and like they just sent us right to school in August, so it wasn't as strict as UMass. They sent us home eventually because it was COVID, of course, but like the dining halls were all kind of the same. I mean, you had to wear a mask and stuff, but no one was on campus, like besides freshmen who were living on campus, so it was kind of just like a ghost town. And when we went to eat, it was just like me and my roommate and like some friends, and that was it. And that's all kind of all the people that you met, so there was nowhere to mingle. So it was like sad, because that's usually like the time where everyone's kind of like resting and you can talk and hang out. But that's kind of gone.
Yeah.
Did that come back as years went on?
So the second year, we got handed, like, there was no bags, we got plates, and they finally like allowed you to sit in the dining hall, and we were like, oh my god, we're gonna drop our plates, because we were so used to just like putting a bag on our wrist and just walking around. So it did come back. I think it was my fall semester of my sophomore year, so I think 2021 that was. Yeah, so we finally like got to sit down and eat, and it like kind of went back to normal around that time.
Yeah, same.
For schoolwork that was assigned in college, how do you think COVID messed with that?
Well, hybrid and online. It was just like the same as you had when you went to high school. It was just, I think the first day of class was like August 20 something for me, and it was like one day we went in, and then the next day we're like, okay, cut it, like we're not doing in person ever again. So every single class was online, and that was just like extremely painful, because if you're in college and your class starts at noon and you're already asleep and you have to open your computer, it's like, I'm going back to bed. Like, I swear I did not do half the amount of schoolwork that I've done. Like, it was crazy.
The change from high school to college was like so big, because Masco kind of drills it into you, like, we're preparing you for college, we're preparing you for college, and like they give you so much work.
Wake up call.
And then to get there and have like one assignment a week, I was like, what were you preparing me for? Like all of my classes were online for a whole year. My fall and spring semester, I was all online. I was just like, it's so easy. Like
you've never gone in class, so you don't know your professor, you don't have any class friends, you have no sort of connection. So I was just taking like art history, learning about Cleopatra, and I'm like, what am I doing? And I'm just in my room, and I'm like, I gained nothing from that. Yeah. And like my grades were terrible. Well, because I didn't try.
Like they pitied us a little bit too, because they were like, oh, you were the class of 2020, like, oh, you're going through such a hard time. So they kind of like let up on the work, I feel like. So they weren't like drilling us right when we got to college. They were kind of like, oh, like this is optional. If you like want the extra credit, you can do this. I don't know if that was the same for you.
I feel like they just didn't know what they were doing, and just kind of like gave us stuff they shouldn't have been doing, and I was like, okay.
I know, because a lot of the teachers didn't know how to teach online either. That was a big learning curve. Like they had been at UMass or Masco for like 30 years, and they're like, I've taught in person my whole career. Now you want me to teach like online, and I don't know if it was the same for you with online class, but like no one would answer. The teacher would ask and like no one would talk, and it's just like so awkward and like you feel bad, but it's just like a different environment than it would be like in person.
Yeah.
What kind of did like the teachers have any tech issues? Were there any teachers who just didn't know?
I know. Well, it started.
This is a story. It's sad, but it has to be told. My history teacher for U.S. history, a class which I did not do so well in, but that's okay. His house ended up burning down one night, and we just didn't hear from him. So we were like, "Wow!" Like class is canceled, of course, because it's on Zoom. And then the next day or two, like Jamie put something out, and I was like, "Oh!" Like we would have never known because it was all online. Never met the poor guy. Like he was so sweet, and I was just like, "Wow!" Like I couldn't have felt more bad and disconnected from like everything, because we were just like celebrating that we had no class, and he had just gone through like a tragedy, and I was like, oh my god, like all that kind of stuff where it was like, oh, no class today, my computer isn't working, and be like, wow.
I know, because we, after school ended for us, because we were supposed to go on our internship from high school, so I think we had a week left before we were supposed to start internship, and that obviously didn't happen, so they're like, oh, we're going to start up school again, you're going to continue with your classes. So it took them, I want to say, like a month to get the online class for Masco like up and running. So we were just kind of like, what do we do for like an entire month before we like finally came back with our like classes for Masco. And like those teachers had no idea what they were doing at the time.
Because did you have online for middle school, like that summer or something?
Yeah, but the way I remember it, it was like school practically ended.
Yeah, that was basically summer break. It was in March.
I know, people sometimes like didn't even go.
Yeah,
like,
I was scared we wouldn't graduate if we didn't go, so we were like, we went, but I mean, it was kind of pointless.
Just a bunch
of
no one
knew it was happening, so no blame to be placed, but.
Since that time, how well do you think things have returned to normal?
I mean, I feel like we saw the worst of the worst when we were in high school, because everyone was like, oh my god, everyone's gonna die. And we like had to like wear gloves in grocery stores, masks everywhere. Like at one point at UMass we couldn't even go outside in groups. So since then I feel like my life has been really normal, aside from like a COVID test here or there, but that's just like safety precautions. But I feel like besides like what you were saying about like grandparents, like the hyper awareness, I feel like everything has gone pretty much back to normal.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like just during that time, like it was 0 to 100, so the tensions were so high, like within everybody, and even within like globally or just within friendships. Like I remember we got in a fight once, because she was like, "You're not being COVID safe," and I was like, "What do you know about me?" Exactly. And in hindsight, we were just crazy.
Yeah, because I feel like everyone was so like. Just like no one knew what to do, so the emotions were like very high.
Same thing with like politics or whatever. Not that I'm an expert, but everyone just kind of like barking at each other, and I feel like that kind of hasn't really gone down a lot. So that's a fact that I like still think about. I'm like, oh my god, people just love to just go to each other's necks because they feel so strongly, and like I feel like COVID was really where we saw that like spiral.
Yeah, and the division of people.
And like it really hasn't gone down that much. But other than that, I think we found a happy medium. Like we need to have hybrid stuff. Like if there's so many jobs now that you can just like stay at home, whereas in the past you would just go to an office.
That's true.
And like classes, if you have office hours in college, you can just do it online, be with your professor on Zoom. It makes things so much easier. Like I'm honestly grateful for that in that aspect. Technology made it everything a lot simpler.
And very convenient too.
And we had to navigate it through COVID. So what would we have done without it?
True. That's my philosophy.
So kind of a positive. One more general question and then we'll get to the more specifics. How do you think, I mean, you kind of already touched on this a little bit, how is your daily life affected, but specifically with things like entertainment and pop culture, you know, movies, books, music, anything like that? Is there anything that sticks out to you about those things at that time?
I think I started using my phone a lot more than I had in the past. I feel like my phone, like the TV, even like I'd say books too, like became very prominent in my life where they hadn't been. Like, I've been going to school, doing sports, extracurriculars. So I feel like I was more consuming more media than I had been before.
Yeah, definitely same. I feel like everyone kind of just like their common ground was online. So TikTok,
Yeah,
YouTube,
TikTok was huge.
Netflix, TikTok. That was just like basically where everyone kind of like came together, shared their opinions, funny videos, everything.
Yeah.
And like if something on Netflix came out, such as Tiger King,
Oh, true.
every single person was watching it. Everyone
Yeah.
was connecting on that. So like that was kind of what I felt like kept me close with everyone.
Yeah, I feel like it was a positive,
Yeah.
even though it was like overconsumption of media.
I mean,
think
the phone addiction stayed.
it kept people like
but
connected when everyone was disconnected.
Yeah.
All right, so now for some more pointed questions. You already talked about graduation with the masks. I did not know that you didn't get diplomas.
I think
Yeah, we
they
didn't
were
get to
mailed
walk. We got
eventually.
them.
That's a little-
Yes.
My class got to walk, but they mailed the diplomas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they at least gave us something.
Yeah.
That's true.
Was your senior prom affected
Oh.
by COVID?
So it
That's
was
what-
canceled, unfortunately.
So wait, when you asked the first question about how I knew it was real, was when we were all living in the delusion that senior prom was
Promise,
happening. We're
yeah.
like, well, we'll just have a week or two off, and then like we'll just go back for prom.
Yeah, so it was like at the point where everyone had bought their dresses and stuff. Everyone had their dates. Like it was a week before.
Which, by the way, if you've never heard this, you can't return your prom dress.
No.
So
People were
that's-
spending hundreds of dollars, and then
Yeah.
it just didn't
Down the
happen.
drain. That's
Yeah,
alright.
but some people did like beach proms.
people did like yard
Like
proms in
backyard
their
proms.
backyard. You know, took pictures and stuff, but it wasn't the same, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Did you do any of those things? Like
No.
homemade proms?
Never left the group chat. Like we would say that we wanted to, but we never.
We all dressed up on the day of
yeah.
actual prom. We all FaceTimed each other and got all dressed and ready for prom, and then just kind of like, oh, hey guys,
Yeah,
like all on like
I
group
think we
FaceTime.
zoomed.
Did we Zoom? I think we did Zoom because we were still
Group
figuring
FaceTime
out.
wasn't a thing.
No, I think we group Zoomed. We all
Just
joined.
sitting in our. I think I was like sitting in my bed in my dress, like
Yeah, and my
this is
mom
so
took
fun.
photos of me.
Oh my
she
god,
was
the
like,
moms ate it
"Oh."
up. They loved it.
Yeah, so we all got at least to wear our dress for an hour
Yeah.
or two on the day that we were supposed to have prom.
What else?
That actually reminds me, for holidays and family events, did you do something like that? A group Zoom?
We did Zoom Christmas.
Yeah.
It was still, I think it was 2020, even though it had been like a couple months. Like my family is really old. Like my parents are like the youngest in their families, so it's like we're the way youngest. So we didn't want to get anyone sick, so we all joined a group Zoom and just kind of ate food and talked in our respective houses, which was kind of sad, but it was good to at least like chat.
Same.
You did Zoom Christmas?
I don't know if I did Zoom Christmas with my whole family, but I remember one side of my family got COVID, so they just couldn't make it.
Oh.
I think it was like, yeah, it was just my immediate family that
Yeah.
did Christmas, come to think of it. So long.
My family did a Zoom Thanksgiving,
Oh.
and they're all old Italians, so you can imagine how that went.
Oh, all the talking at the same time.
Yeah, it's
I
like
can't figure out.
they're yelling because they don't know how a phone works.
Yeah.
I know, seeing my grandfather try and join a Zoom, I was like, oh.
There was that
It took
much
him a
time.
minute for sure, but
How did COVID affect college admission?
so we were already accepted. I think. Oh, actually,
I was still getting my acceptance
yeah.
letters.
Wait. Now that I say that, I don't know. I think
'Cause you did early, right?
I applied early action to college, and I had gone into all the schools or like the ones I wanted to, and I think I accepted my admission to UMass during COVID. I'm like pretty sure. I don't know
Yeah.
the timeline on that because we had to make our decision by what, May 1st, or did
Yeah,
it?
no,
I think it got
definitely
pushed
just that.
back to June 1st. I think they extended like our decision day.
Yeah. I think April, I want to say.
Yeah, it's when
The
they
end of
committed.
April. Yeah. Because I met my roommate, like, end of April, on Facebook. But this is my origin story. This is what I told everyone at JMU, like, obviously it had to be different. But I never toured the school before I went because the weekend I was supposed to tour was, of course, the weekend that the world ended. And everyone got, like, shut down from school, work, everything. So I never got to tour it. So I was like, oh, what do I do? But all the schools I toured up here, I just like didn't love. So I kind of just committed to a random school in Virginia I had never been to and just went, like on a whim, kind of. I was like, the campus is cool, I kind of like my roommate, and I just went and remember the first night just being like, why did I do that? Like, why did I do that? I was alone in my dorm, like, okay, you could have just gone to UMass and like been home still with Maddie and like known everyone. But it ended up working out. It was like a huge life change, but COVID definitely affected that process.
And some people didn't go. They were like, I think that also impacted college admission, and some people were like, why would I be enrolled? They took a gap year, I want to say, after our senior year, and then started up the year after that, because they were like, why would I want my college experience to be just like COVID? So I think that impacted it a little bit. And for UMass, like, we didn't go at all in the fall, so I was home. They want to say like 10 or 12 to other kids that had graduated from Masco the same year as me. So we would all get together as like the UMass group and just like hang out. So that was nice. Like I got to like meet and not meet, but like interact with people that I normally wouldn't have in high school.
I don't know if I wrote this one, but do you think your overall college experience changed significantly because of what happened during your freshman year? So like what you chose to major in, the dorm situation, if you had an apartment, if you lived on campus, those kind of things?
Sure. Yeah, I think COVID, easiest year apparently of college. Didn't know it at the time, felt hard to me. I got really bad grades, unfortunately. But like, I barely tried. So I would have, if I had put that amount of effort into real school, I failed all across the board. So when it was sophomore year and it was classes in person, it was a really big struggle because I was used to, of course, opening my laptop, falling asleep, and then just like taking a quiz, you know? So I kind of had to do a 180 with my grades or else I was going to get kicked out of my major. And that kind of just taught me like how to actually like work for school, which I had never really done before. I kind of always just coasted. So if it wasn't for like that crazy switch from like freshman to sophomore year, I would have never kind of learned that. And I probably would have just kind of kept coasting and like getting bad grades and like, I don't know. It taught me a lot, like even though it wasn't easy, but grateful for it.
Yeah, I feel like my freshman year was like very different than the typical one that I kind of thought that I would have had. So not going in the fall, everyone was like super duper excited to be there in the spring. And even though like we didn't have in-person classes, like the dining hall was basically closed, the gym was basically closed, and we were locked down in our dorms, I think it really impacted the friendships that I made, because we had, I want to say like 100 people in our dorm, and we all got like super close. It was like the only friends that you could make were in your building. So every freshman building that I like met later on in college said the same thing, that they all got super close with their buildings, like, and kind of like hung out within the dorm rooms, which was like kind of like unique to our grade, and I liked it because like those friendships you maintained all throughout college because you had gone through such a hard and like weird time with all of them.
Just for the record, what did you two major in? Did you change your major? You sticking with it?
So I majored in public health, which is like funny because of COVID. I went in as public health and came out as public health. The only thing that I changed was I added a business minor because I just had extra credits left over, and that also interested me.
I went in undecided. I had no idea what I wanted to do. And then sophomore year I had to decide. So I just kind of picked one that sounded good to me, which was communication sciences and disorders, which is like speech pathology or audiology, if you know what that is. And I ended up like loving the courses, so I stuck with it, and I ended up on the speech pathology route. But yeah, still doing that. Have to get my master's. It was kind of on a whim, but yeah, I don't know. I got lucky that I ended up picking something I liked. But
And public health was interesting because I took classes that kind of explained like disease prevalence and like incidence rates. So it was kind of, and we used COVID as a big example throughout my whole college career, as like how it spreads, how it's like preventable. So that was kind of like reinforcing of like everything that we already knew from like living through it, but like kind of like the facts and science behind it was cool.
So there's already some things that you've touched on, like graduation and prom. But are there any other experiences that you feel as though you've missed out on because of COVID?
Kind of like the closure aspect of it all. That's not like an event. I think it was more like a feeling that we all had. It was just kind of like we got, I don't know, like not left in the dust a little bit. Kind of like we didn't have any award ceremony, any like real graduation, any of the end of the year stuff that all the seniors before us had. Yeah. And like I was going on a trip to Germany with the school that got canceled. I had like a trip with my parents that got canceled. So it was like one thing after another just kept getting canceled and canceled. So like all that stuff I feel like I missed out on.
Oh, I forgot about all the senior stuff. Like that is kind of why we were so excited for senior year. Because like you have all the stuff at the end to look forward to.
Yeah, because like they kind of given up on our, not given up, but like we were coming to the close in our classes. Like we were going to start our internships, kind of coast into summer and have a good time. And then it was just like,
yeah. Oof. We were going to go to Canada?
Mm-hmm.
We were like had a
go back to
Montreal. To Montreal. Didn't happen, but we were just kind of like mourning the loss of everything that we didn't even get to have, except it was from our house. So everyone was kind of just like, wow, this sucks. But
the one thing we did get was the rolling rally.
Oh,
I totally forgot about that. It's like when all the seniors get in their car and drive through all 3 towns on a loop.
They have to bring that back.
No, it was so much fun. Like, although we didn't get a graduation, this was like the highlight of like I don't know why we forgot about it. We all met, I think, at the Topsfield Fairgrounds, got in our cars.
Midsummer.
We were allowed to go with other people.
Yeah, it was like midsummer, so everything kind of chilled out, I think.
We went together and we had just gotten our cap and gowns. So like we all had our little caps on our cars and drove through town while everyone's parents were lined up on the road like cheering for us and like signs.
All through the Tri-Town, like all through Topsfield and Boxford and Middleton. Like people had their Jeeps and like their sunroofs and their convertibles open. Everyone's just kind of like, hi everybody.
Yeah, they had horns and little cowbells. And yeah, no, that was really fun. Then we got to like flip our tassels when we passed Masco, and then all dispersed.
I remember when we woke up early and had to, I forgot what, we had to pick up our cap and gown from the school, but like all the teachers lined up outside the building and were like waving, and I was just seeing every teacher you've had like for all of high school and just be like, oh my god, like I'm never gonna see you again probably.
Because that's when
bittersweet.
Like anything that you had left in your locker.
Oh, that too.
Any books that you had to return. It was kind of like, I went with my mom and they took photos of us.
They did. They took professional pics and I was the palest I've ever been.
No, like, we were like, life is literally so horrible. Jeez.
Put it in like an album and post it online.
Yeah.
It's like, take
so we got to say bye to our teachers, got our caps and gowns, returned like, I think we got like our medical files back that we were supposed to get.
Everything they had from us from the school, but they put like the Tri-Town put a lot of thought in everything.
Yeah.
Try to make it as good as it could be, but I miss that. Yeah.
Did you do a senior prank?
No. Oh, well, actually.
Oh, wait, this is
on our own like volition. So we didn't have an organized senior prank. That wasn't something that we were gonna do. We just
the urge was still there.
So we had to do senior science first or cones?
No, just the senior science.
Senior science. Okay. So everyone got senior signs, or like I think you could order them. I don't know if everyone got them, but it had like your face, like Masco 2020, and like a little message at the bottom.
Like every person in our grade got.
Yeah. So and they were posted outside people's houses, and so our friend group, and I think it like spread to other friend groups, would take people's senior signs.
I swear we started it.
I swear we started it too. So we would take people's senior signs and like switch them with other people's, and like there was people's outside of Richardson's. Hers got stolen.
Okay, wait, no, this is what it became. It was like we would just take 2 people either that knew each other or didn't know each other at all.
It stared just like as a
switch their signs. Sorry, like
so they would have to talk to each other and like get them back. So we like just thought it was so funny.
They'd wake up and be like, "Why is this kid's sign outside my house?" And then the other person would be like, "What?" And then one day the sign bandit came and started
taking it and not returning.
So all across the Tri-Town, like people's signs were just getting stolen, and
we were like, "It's not us. It wasn't."
And
us.
I was like, "You're not doing it. I'm not doing it. Who's doing it?" Like mine was taken off my driveway because I guess you could see it from the main road or whatever. And then we all go to school. We're like, "Okay, I guess we'll never know."
And there was like, I want to say like 30
was still
signs.
in the Tri-Town because
you had left for school.
I was literally at JMU and she was still at home.
And they drove to Masco for some reason.
Every single sign, the bandit. I put every single sign that they stole in the lawn at Masco.
It was so funny. Like everyone's faces
just like
in the field.
And like You had to go to Mass and pick up your sign.
So I got hers. I went and picked up hers. I was like, this is
And
so
we were like,
humiliating.
they outdid the doer. Like, good job.
Yeah.
That was funny. But
Yeah.
like, that was the only prank I could think of.
And that wasn't like all we could do. But
But it was hilarious.
I know.
Couldn't think of
I
something.
don't know how we thought of it. We were just like, how funny would it be if we just like.
I don't know if anyone. If you're watching this
It wasn't us.
and your song got switched, that was. But if it was stolen, that was us.
Yeah.
So funny. Like.
All right. The last pointed question, and then, we'll go from there. I also didn't write this one, but many colleges experienced significant disruption during the graduation season this year due to the conflict in Israel and Palestine. Did this affect you at your colleges? If so, how did you feel about like another thing piling up on an important milestone?
Mine was not. Like, Maddie has way more, because UMass was way
Yeah.
more affected, but people were worried it would get canceled, but it just never kind of touched us. But at UMass,
So
scary.
we kind of, it wasn't like we weren't afraid that our graduation was going to get canceled, more so like disrupted. So the way UMass, because it's so big, they split graduations up by college, and then there's a big ceremony on Saturday morning. So it was Saturday and Sunday were 2 graduation days. So Saturday morning we had a big ceremony with every single student that wanted to go, and like our chancellor would talk, and there was like, as soon as our chancellor came out, he got like ruthlessly booed by everyone, because I'm not sure exactly how UMass is involved, but they do send money to Israel, and people were upset with that. They were like calling for divestment, and the people that were unhappy with the chancellor kind of stood up and walked out of graduation. They didn't really make a scene. They kind of just, well, it was a scene, but very peacefully. They just kind of like had flags and just walked out. And then my small graduation for the School of Public Health, no disruptions happened. People just had little flags and just kind of just showed their support. It wasn't really anything harmful. It was very peaceful.
I feel like the majors that kind of were more involved are like the poli sci
Yeah.
of it all. Like, I was saying health, no disruption, but I heard like things about kind of the other graduations that it might have been like some cheering or whatever, but
Yeah.
nothing crazy.
And I think there was a mutual understanding that we had our senior year, like, graduations, like, very disrupted and canceled. So I think out of like people's hearts, they were like, we don't want to ruin it for other people. Like, we want to show our support for something that we believe in, but we're not going to ruin it for everyone, which I really appreciated.
Alright, last thing, and maybe this is the fun one. Do you have any generally interesting anecdotes or stories, anything funny, anything that sticks out to you from COVID in high school and college and whatever?
I think something that, not like a specific story, it just really brought everyone together in like a weird way. I feel like we hung out with people that we would have never hung out with or even talked to after COVID. So I think that was fun. Like, we kind of all got together and kind of like made friends and just kind of...
Yeah, I mean, everyone was so crazy, like stir crazy after quarantine that like when we got up, when we were freed, it's like,
We were
just, like everyone was
freed.
on cloud nine.
Yeah.
Just having fun every single day. Like, I don't know, I feel
I'm trying to
like
think of specific things. Because I feel like we touched on everything that like... I like little anecdotes.
yeah, the signs was probably our funniest.
That was a
feat.
highlight, for sure.
Definitely a highlight.
I'm trying to think of quarantine more, like, specifically. Besides, like, the car for birthdays and, like, parking lots, did we do anything else? I know.
Every day was the same.
It's a bit of a blur.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really is. I mean, freshman year of college, I met like literally 2 people.
Did you
My
want to tell me
roommate-
going and then coming back and then going
Oh,
back?
that was great. That was all so awesome. We went to school in August and we're there for 2.5 weeks. And then they're like, okay, never mind, you have to go home. Because COVID's spreading. Like, there was a chart online, I don't know if there was one for you.
Yes,
but
the cases.
it was like the cases, and then it just spiked in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Like, of course, when all the freshmen moved in. So they sent us home for like a month and a half. So I had just finally settled into school, and then they're like, get out of here. So I went from October, maybe November, no, I don't actually remember. But I was home for so long and then had to go back, and it was just like, I kept packing up all my stuff, coming back, going home, like, it was a mess. It's like, I don't even know where I am.
Yeah, this reminded me of something from UMass. We had to get tested every 4 days for COVID to, like, live in our dorms, and we had, like, a little green check. It was attached to your name and, like, it's called a Spire account. So you would go get tested, your results would be sent back to you on your phone, like on your app would be a green check, and you couldn't get in anywhere without your green check. Like you couldn't eat, you couldn't go to the dining hall if you didn't have a green check. They wouldn't allow you in, which I'm like, how is that allowed?
That's crazy.
You couldn't go to the gym. I mean, even to go to the gym, you had to sign up, and it was 25 people. I go to a school of 30,000 people, so if you think that you're going to be the first 25 people to sign up for a gym session, like, you're delusional. So we couldn't go to the gym. You had a green check to eat, and you could only, your, like, U-card only signed you into your building. Like, I don't even think the library was open. So it was like, I don't think the green checks went away until my spring semester sophomore year, and that's when they lifted the mask mandate too. So it was like kind of crazy time. I feel like longer than other schools. I feel like UMass was like really locked down, rather than like the southern schools where like they were going to huge parties and stuff. I was like,
lax where
I'm in a lockdown still.
Like we had the green check, except you just had to wake up and click, I'm feeling well or I'm not feeling well.
We had to physically get tested.
If you felt well, then you're good. Yeah, I never felt well.
Yeah, we had to walk. Oh my god, it was so yeah, no, it was like a mile walk, and you had to do it like that's not that bad, obviously, but we would have to walk to the Mullen Center.
The COVID dorms.
Oh my god, they would isolate people.
Not okay. Whoever was in charge of that. No.
So yeah, if you tested positive, you got sent to a COVID dorm, and at UMass, it was like all the way up on top of a hill. In like this, like it looks like a psych ward. It was like the worst looking building, and they would make you walk because they didn't have enough like transportation. So you had to walk like 2 miles with COVID. So like your lungs are giving out on you, and you would have to stay there until you were cleared. And it was like 10 days, I think. So they just like locked them up there, and there wasn't enough food. It was like, this like doesn't even sound real. Like they didn't give enough food to people. Like you were locked down. If you got contact traced, like they would call you if you tested positive, be like, who were you in contact with? You're like, well, literally everyone I'm meeting. I'm a freshman in college. Like I talked to everyone, and you'd have to give like 3 names. So then those 3 people would have to go to quarantine, get tested. This one girl, she was negative on her 10th day, tested positive, and then had to do another 10 days. So she was locked away for like 20 days. A month. We didn't see her, and we were like,
oh, like the Salem witch.
Oh my god.
No, for sure. I was like, this is
no
legal?
one is safe.
No, and they like convinced you like that was fine, and that's like what protocol was, and we were like, okay. We're like, oh my god.
Our school had designated COVID vans that would pick you up outside your door if you tested positive, and you just kind of hopped in and got driven to the COVID dorm.
Yeah.
No one would hear from you for like a week and a half, and it was like, oh, okay, bye Sarah. Like,
bye, see you
later.
Yeah.
And I remember, I lived in like the bad dorm. I almost said a bad word. But I lived in the bad dorm where no AC. It was like 8 stories. It was brick. It was not cute. And I remember one time my roommate saw someone she knew from high school, and she was like, what are you doing here? I didn't know you lived in here. She was like, no, like, I have COVID. And we were like, oh, hey girl, like, what's going on here? She was like, yeah, they sent me here. And we were like, oh, we're living in a COVID dorm?
Oh no.
We were living in a COVID dorm, and we had no idea. And I was like, stop the spread, I guess. Like, what? It made no sense, and we just, like, were laughing, because it's like, of course. No, like, there was no planning. There was nothing. It was just kind of like, here, just go quarantine. It was a lot, but that was kind of weird. We kind of just accepted everything that got thrown at us. We're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. Because we were watching, because we could see on, like, a website how many cases there were, like, at UMass. And I want to say it got up to like at least 1,000, and which was a lot, because you'd have like 4 or 5 cases like normally week to week, and it's like, oh, that stinks. But when it got really bad, it was like in the thousands, and they filled up the original COVID dorm. They had to bring it to like where my dorm was. It was called Southwest, and like in a tower, they would have everyone that was exposed and had COVID, and it turned into like Project X in this dorm room. People went crazy. Yes, because they couldn't have RAs, because they couldn't make the RAs go into like a COVID infected dorm. So they just went crazy. You put all these 18-year-olds in one spot with alcohol. And, like, laugh about, like
no one has to worry about
unruly
masks.
circumstances.
Everyone's
Yeah.
already infected.
Yeah.
Like, they just...
So they only got free range, whereas, like, we're all still in lockdown, but, like, they get a free pass. 'cause they
Hey,
had
you know
COVID.
what?
It's like a
Yeah.
like a zombie tower.
Yeah, no, for
Almost.
sure. And I had already had immunity, so I couldn't be contact traced because I had COVID the month before I went to school. So I was completely just like free range. I didn't have to get tested, I don't want to say, until like the end of February. I think they give you 3 months of like immunity. So I couldn't be contact traced and I didn't have to get tested. And I was like, woohoo. I was like, my dorm was a ghost town at one point. When like things were going out of control, like you would like put post-its on the people, like their doors that weren't there. It was like Fallen Soldier 1, Fallen Soldier 2, Fallen Soldier 5. Like it was funny, but also not at the same time.
What? That was crazy.
Yeah. People just got whisked away and you never heard from them again.
It was all normal.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
College was definitely like really like weird when COVID was still like
No.
like
Freshman year wasn't real. Like, I looked at the freshmen that came the year after us and I was like, wow, like,
it's not so normal
whoa, that's normal. That
Yeah.
Like, what we experienced was not normal
at all.
whatsoever.
No.
Like, my roommate and I always said it was like a social experiment to put us in those dorm rooms and just only talk to each
Yeah.
other. I don't know how we didn't go crazy. Because I only really saw her, like, day in, day out. And I loved it.
Yeah.
Like, it was fine, but...
And UMass was like in the news because they had a controversy because they kicked 3 girls out for like socializing. I think they were like, did you hear about that?
Mm-hmm.
There was like 3 girls that got kicked out. It was like in the news that got kicked out of UMass because they weren't wearing masks, but they were together. And at the time they were giving like misconducts to everyone. Like I got one my freshman year because like you couldn't hang out with everyone. Like if you got caught, I was in a room of like 9 people my freshman year, like just trying to meet people. And the RA wrote us all up and like threatened to kick us off campus. So I was on housing removal deferred for like a year because I was just like trying to meet friends, which obviously like I understand like people got sick but that being said, why am I here if I can't make friends and socialize?
I was caught bringing an outsider into my dorm, but it was really just a group of us and then a couple people from a different dorm. And the RAs were like, okay, everyone pull out your student ID card. Scanned them all. One of them was from a different dorm.
Ooh.
And I got put on probation for 2 years. Probation for what? I'm not sure. But it was on my record that I, like, if I was caught again, I would have to be brought up to some council. I was like,
that was one thing was like everyone was on probation or misconduct.
Everyone
like,
had at
everyone
least
you
one.
talked to had some misconduct. I hope it didn't go on a record. I mean,
No,
we
it
graduated,
went
so it doesn't
away.
matter, but
it went away.
that's
what I tell myself.
I know. Yeah, but they were mean. They threatened us. I tried to appeal it, and they were like, absolutely not. And I was like, okay.
Hey, what'd I do?
Yeah.
All right, that is everything.
Nice.
So
Did we give you good
yeah, no, that was great.
of our nice
So-
adolescent years?
Thanks.
The golden days.
We're good.